The challenges of connection, actually. That's what I've been thinking about, connection, a lot this Elul. It occupies a lot of our efforts, as we just saw during this pandemic. And, questions like, hey, can we connect later online? Will your child have any challenges connecting to go to school? Our relationships are now all through these specific paths. These paths have names like Zoom and FaceTime and Teams. We're continuing the hunt now for consolation and comfort through meaningful connection through as we navigate all of these challenges. And for me, Elul has always been a time for a specific kind of connection. It's the time to look inward and to silence the noise inside, to silence the noise in my soul, and with brutal honesty, try to look for all of those blockages between me and the Holy One. And this year I find myself wondering, does the path to connection with the Holy One change when our connection to each other is so strained? During this pandemic, most of my prayer has been alone. It's been rapping and davening every morning shachrit on my back deck that I didn't appreciate was facing east until COVID. I thought I was davening alone. That will shout out until Marty Cohn's annual poem clarified that I joined a minion of birds and squirrels and rabbits and an occasional deer. But as I reflected on what connection feels like when I pray alone, and when I pray at a minyan, or what it means to pray at shul during Shabbat or Yontif, I've tried to parse out what are the feelings of connection that I have to my community and my friends, and what are those feelings that I have to the holy during prayer. As I was thinking about this, it reminded me of something I learned from my wife, Rebecca. She was a preschool teacher at the time, and she taught me something about young kids and how they do connection. They connect in a very particular way. There are times they play alone, and there are times that they play together and do a unified group activity. But they also have this middle ground. It's called parallel play. This is a time when each child has their own playtime. They might be drawing or playing with a toy or some blocks, and they're playing alone, but it is very important that they have proximity to others and to their friends when they do it. It's an important time. They play solo, but not alone. And I think that's what a minyan is. It's our Jewish moment of parallel prayer. We're praying alone or one-on-one with the holy, but it's very important that we're proximate to 9 or more other folks. We begin very solo as we do this with the morning blessings. During Pesukei de Zimra, we look around to our friends and kind of feel good that they're all singing the same songs of praise in the same order. But as we enter the Amidah, we're alone with the holy. We begin, open my lips, so my mouth can declare your glory. It's me, it's one-on-one. And we end the Amidah with, hold my tongue from speaking evil, my tongue. Again, it's a one-on-one moment. But we emerge from our one-on-one with the Holy One back into the Elenu, which is another time of parallel play when we really appreciate that even though we may be asking of all these things alone, we appreciate the comfort that we have with people around us. And while the morning minyan is a session alternating between praying alone and in parallel, it never truly becomes an integrated group activity, I don't think. But there is one call that eventually gets there. It just doesn't get there necessarily at minyan all the time. It's the call to listen, Shema. During Pesukei, we march through the word Shema Yisrael and hear each other say it in parallel. But during the Kriyat Shema, we actually cover our eyes to drive the point home that we are alone at that moment, blocking things out to make sure that we hear the voice, to hear the call of the holy. There is a point in the Amidah towards the end where we hear Shema again, we say Shema Kolenu. It's almost a point of a group activity, hear our voices. But more often than not, we say it quietly. We say it silently. We say it one-on-one. But there's one more Shema, though, that does bring us all together. And after Elul, we all know what comes next. As the gates are closing at Nila, we come together as a group and we repeat the Shema together as one, loudly, and we repeat it and sing it. And during the Baruch Shem Kavod, we literally shout the quiet part out loud. Except this year. Shouting the quiet part out loud over video will make that leap from parallel play to a unified group a challenge for us. So I come back to my original question that got me on this thinking path, this reflection. How does the path to connect to the Holy One change when the path to connect with each other is so strained? And I think as I thought about this, perhaps we should stop trying to hear and start trying to listen. I can't help but think that this year, the call to hear is really a call to hear each other. I think this Elul, the path to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is by connection through each of us. The task this Elul is to navigate the blockages to our connection as a kahal, as our own congregation, be they technological or otherwise. This year, our connection is the work. Shavua Tov.
Rachamana de